There is a conservative MP who is heading to Washington to try to help broker a trade deal with the Trump administration. Here is Jamil Jivani defending his decision today with this online video.
I want to help Prime Minister Mark Carney be successful in negotiating a trade deal with the United States. Now, that might sound counterintuitive because I am a principled conservative. He is our liberal prime minister. But the reality is that this is not a partisan issue. There are people who've been running around this country for over a year now, talking about their elbows, flapping about. I just don't find that impressive. I don't find it serious.
Okay, so Lisa, an MP, conservative MP, a good friend with J.D. Vance. What do you make of this move that Mr. Jivani is, like, I don't know, on a diplomatic trip to Washington, D.C.?
Is he being sent by the opposition?
That is unclear. He tends to do things kind of on his own, but you know, there was some suggestion that maybe the Conservatives could help with this and would. I do not know.
Broadly speaking, David, I would say it's always helpful when Canadians would like to help the government and the opposition to find a path to having a better relationship with the United States. Mm-hmm. Broadly speaking, I don't know whether or not Mr. Jivani is going to be successful. And I don't know whether or not Mr. Jivani has set out what exactly he expects that he's going to accomplish. But when he figures that out, I'd like to know, because I'd like to measure him against those key points, because we're measuring everybody else in terms of what they're bringing back. So if he wants to go down there, and I know I sound a little bit cruel, but if he wants to go down there and make a fuss and say that he's going to go and negotiate a deal, then bring something back and show us what you did and show your work on it. Otherwise, you're just making a statement during a time when we're talking about unity in this country today here in Ottawa, very much so, and how we have to work together. It would have been nice to have seen him at the Harper unveiling.
Do you think this is about other ambitions?
I have no idea.
Okay. Just for the record, we've reached out to Mr. Jivani and invited him to join us on the show to talk about this. Supriya, your thoughts on what Jamil Jivani is doing here?
First of all, Lisa, nobody could ever describe you as cruel, so let's get that out of the way. But I will just say that the first thing that jumped out at me in that video is that there's no conservative branding anywhere. Like, he's got his name behind him on that blue banner thing in the background, and presumably there's a CPC logo on there somewhere, but you don't see it. All you see is him and a Restore the North cap, right? Which is his own personal thing associated with his brand, not his leader's brand. But that said, the tone that Jamil is taking is, like, you know, way better than, I guess, what's been on offer from Poilievre and the bulk of the conservative front bench over the better half of the year. Like, let's be honest, if the Conservatives had stated most of what Jamil had said in that video during the election, there's a very good chance they'd be in government right now. But I think the problem that Jamil will run into, aside from what Lisa has, you know, very astutely pointed out, is that eventually you got to call out the cause of all of this mess, right? And there's one sole person that is responsible for that, and that is Donald Trump. And while the Conservatives want to make this about the Prime Minister failing to get a deal or whatever, having his elbows too far up, any reasonable person can see that our Prime Minister is not the cause of our issues with the U.S. right now. And, you know, if I'll also be interested in seeing how the Liberals react. And I don't just mean the response from the center. Like, I think seeing what some of the more attack dog type MPs in caucus do with this will be interesting, because there's a lot of material here. But I would just say that what Jamil is offering on its face in that video, which is cross-partisan cooperation, to Lisa's point, is what people want. People want an all-Canadian, hands-on-deck response when it comes to the U.S. But again, to Lisa's point, I'll just end on this. He doesn't represent the government of Canada, nor does he represent the official opposition. He doesn't even have, like, a critic role in those on those opposition benches. He represents the good people of Bowmanville, Oshawa North, which is all well and good, but in no way does he have any authority or legitimacy whatsoever in negotiating with the U.S. on a complicated and multifaceted file.
Okay.
Here, here.
All right. I'll put Supriya and Lisa down as skeptical, maybe undecided. I don't know. Nathan and Emily, your quick thoughts on this, because I do want to save time for what former Prime Minister Harper had to say, because he ended his speech today with a very important note, and I wanted to get to that. So Nathan and then Emily, and then we'll get to the former Prime Minister.
Well, as a member of the Bald Brotherhood, I want to support him. I want to be there for him. I watched the entire 5-minute video. 5 minutes I'm not going to get back. I have no idea what he's going to do, who he's going to meet with, and as has been said, what authority he has to talk to anybody about Canada's interests. This feels like a self-promotion campaign. It's nice. I love the idea of an all-party, let's lean in. But if you make an offer to help and the government says, thank you, no thank you have no authority to go and talk to the Americans really about too much that's going to move the trade relationship along, especially with the Trump White House. So he's probably going to meet with Vance because they're
Right.
friends. And then to Lisa's point, he'll get some tweets and some likes. But in terms of the larger question, come on, let's be serious. This is not a serious endeavor by any estimation of what we need right now as a country. But then he took a lot of shots. People walking around, virtue signaling, elbows up. Those are all partisan shots against the Liberals, I assume. So don't do the nonpartisan partisan thing. That's boring. But again, back to my first point, as a fellow bald man, I hope he does well because we need more of us represented.
Emily, you're never going to be in the bald caucus, but your quick 20, 30 seconds on Jamil Jivani, because I do want to get to Stephen Harper.
No comment on bald thing. First of all, the elephant in the room is the silence from Pierre Poilievre when it comes to everything that Jamil Jivani is doing. I want to know what Pierre Poilievre is thinking. The other thing is that I cannot help but notice that Jamil Jivani is practicing an American style of politics in the sense that his even with the sign and his name in the background, it's something that he would do as somebody who's a congressman more than somebody that's an MP. And so I'm thinking that he's taking some of his inspiration from the U.S. in terms of how he behaves. And the third thing is that I think that he's acting in good faith in the sense that he's relying on his personal friendship with the prime minister, with the vice president, sorry. And I think that is what's going to end up biting him in the behind in the sense that Donald Trump and the Trump administration seems to be bent on destroying the Canadian economy and to exploit our weaknesses or whatever else, we exploit anything they can to make that happen. And in that sense, having a single MP going in saying they're going to solve things is something that the White House can use. It's also something that GD Vance will have no power whatsoever over, and that Donald Trump doesn't seem to be treating sometimes GD Vance with utmost respect in a lot of things, and that it's not like his personal friendship with GD Vance will protect him for being thrown under the bus by the White House. If that happens, I really hope it doesn't. But I do think that Jamil Jivani is putting himself in danger in a way that it doesn't seem to necessarily get that the White House right now is like malevolent, manipulative narcissist, and that there is no way a friendship can actually mean anything if Donald Trump is bent on destroying the Canadian economy.